Just a quick program note before we start. I really want to thank all of you for coming, and I know that we still have a few people trickling in at the last minute. So if I could ask anybody who just came in to just remove your lanyard during the presentation, because we're going to all be on camera here. And if you're not comfortable being on camera, if you didn't hear that first announcement, you can move over to this side and you won't be on film. Okay. But for the rest of you, welcome, and thanks for the opportunity to speak with all of you today. I want to welcome our online guests too. I'm going to speak for a few minutes, and then I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Christine for a presentation on the student visa process. We'll also have some question and answer, and we'll have a member of our EducationUSA team here as well. So we hope it's a helpful program for everybody. We look forward to talking with all of you, and most of all, we look forward to your questions. But before that, let me just make 3 quick points about education in the United States. Why study in the United States? The first thing I want to say is we welcome international students. We have more than 1 million international students in the United States right now, and around 200,000 of those students are from India. Now think about that. Almost 1 in 6 international students in the United States right now is from India, someone just like all of you. So think about that. The second point I want to make is that the United States offers tremendous diversity of options. And as you consider your educational options, if you're considering international study, I hope you'll consider study in the United States for that reason as well. We have 4,500 accredited universities and colleges. We have 50 states. We have every undergraduate and graduate program you could possibly imagine. And I speak as a graduate of a United States university, but also as a parent. I have one son who is now studying graphic design at Temple University in Philadelphia, and my daughter will be going off this year to DePaul University in Chicago, where she will study liberal arts. And so their experiences are now my experiences, and I look forward to talking with all of you today about your perspective experiences. The last point I'll make about study in the United States is that it offers tremendous opportunity. If you go and study in the United States, you're going to make lifelong friends. You're going to meet business partners of the future. You're going to meet colleagues. You're going to meet contacts. And most importantly, as I started with, you're going to make lifetime friends, just as I did when I started my own university education 30 years ago this year. And I recall meeting a friend on campus that first very hot and humid night in Virginia when I showed up for my freshman year of college. And we are still friends today, and we're lifelong friends. And that year, we watched the Berlin Wall fall on a small television in the dormitory. We saw political events, large and small. We joined clubs and business organizations. We're now diplomats. We are lawyers. We are businesswomen. We're entrepreneurs. And we're still all good friends, and we're still in touch from all those years ago. And that's going to be your experience, too, if you go and study in the United States. And so our educational institutions need the very best international students because we need talented global citizens who can help us solve the challenges that we face in a complex world. And so I urge all of you who are thinking about studying in the United States to talk to one of our educational advisors, to learn more about the opportunities that study in the United States offers. And on June 12th, we're going to have our annual Student Visa Day right here, and all of our posts around India dedicated to Indian students who are applying to study in the United States. And last year, we interviewed around 4,000 Indian students around India just on that day alone. And so we're hoping for a big turnout again this year. I will now turn it over to my colleague Christine for a presentation on the student visa process. Afterwards, as I said, we'll have time for some question and answers. And I want to just thank all of you again today for coming out to the U.S. Consulate in Chennai for this program. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for those of you who are attending here in person, and then again, also those who are watching on YouTube and on Facebook. We're going to have question and answer like Kent had mentioned. So for those of you who are online, if you want to leave your questions in the comments, or you also have the option of texting them to our WhatsApp number, and that'll be provided on the screen. Okay, So just a little about me. I am not only a consular officer here, but I am a former U.S. university student. Did my bachelor's degree at the University of Florida, and then I have a law degree from the University of San Diego. So to mirror some of the things that Kent said, the United States is a prime destination for international students, and India makes up a pretty large percentage of the students that we have studying with us. India is the second largest foreign nationality studying in the United States. So we have a very long and committed relationship between our countries with international study. So here's some facts and figures with the chart. As Kent said, out of every 6 international students in the United States is from India. And the reason for that is U.S. educational institutes really offer unparalleled academic excellence, along with cutting-edge technology and a wide variety of fields. So there's pretty much anything you're interested in, we have something for you. Okay, so applying. The first step is to select and apply for acceptance at a U.S. university. There are over 4,500 accredited colleges and universities in the United States. And if you need help, we have 7 EducationUSA advising centers across India. We also have EducationUSA representative who will participate in our question and answer session. So if you have any questions for them, please be prepared. EducationUSA helps students find U.S. institutions that help fit their goals and provide resources for putting a strong application together. Okay. So when you are accepted to your school, they'll provide you with an I-20. That is, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. And the F-1 visa will be specific to the university that you applied for. So when should you apply for your visa? The sooner the better. Make sure, though, that at the time that you have your I-20 and that it has the correct information for the school that you want to be attending. Visa times, wait times can vary, and you don't want to be in a position where your school's program is about to start and you haven't been able to get an appointment time before that date. So now is a great time to start getting everything together so that you can apply this summer if you're planning on attending school in the August fall season. Remember, too, that you will not be admitted into the U.S. more than 30 days than the date that your program begins. Okay, the visa application process. www.ustraveldocs.com/IN has a step-by-step instructions for how to apply for your student visa. It also includes how to make your appointment, both for your interview and for your fingerprinting and photo submissions at the Visa Application Center, which you'll do before you come in for your interview. You'll also need to pay your SEVIS fee. SEVIS stands for Student and Exchange Visitor Identification System. Make sure that you print out your receipt once you pay for that fee online. And that's separate from the visa application fee. For your interview, make sure that you have your appointment letter for your appointment time, your passport, the barcode page from your application, your receipt for having paid your SEVIS fee, your I-20 if you are applying for an F1 student visa or an M1, or your DS 2019 if you're applying for a J program. So your I-20 is the certificate of eligibility for a non-immigrant student status. This form provides information about the university you're attending, what type of degree or program that you're doing at the university, the cost of the university, the details, what subject matter you're planning on studying, and your source of funding for the program. Okay, on the day of the interview, make sure that you arrive on time, but just on time. There's no need for you to come hours before your appointment time. We have a pretty good system here for getting people in on time and out on time. So just arrive about maybe 15 minutes or so before your appointment time, but not more than that. There's no place at the consulate for you to bring in electronics like your cell phone, so make sure that you've planned ahead to have a place for them to be and for pickup and drop off. Okay, for your interview. Their interview is going to be brief. We recommend that you bring your documentation with you related to any of the programs that you're interested in or your financing, but it's very possible that the officer interviewing you is not going to ask to look at it. We definitely recommend that you be prepared in case they do, but don't be surprised if you have a bunch of papers and no one ever looks at them by the time the interview is over. Being prepared also means you don't need to memorize a speech and give that to the officer when they ask you about what you're planning on studying. It means just you have spent the time and the effort and the money to prepare for this program. So you know what it is that you're doing and what you want. Be prepared to answer questions about that. And they're not trick questions, they're questions you know the answer to. So just relax, answer calmly, naturally. We don't need a whole prepared monologue about what you're doing. Just, if what you're doing makes sense, that's what's important. And if you have a plan for financing, just tell us what it is. You don't need to, there's no specific thing we're looking for. It just really needs to be credible and make sense. Okay, and that brings us to, are you a credible student? So your primary purpose of travel must be to study. And you need to have a plan to pay for your studies. There are 3 requirements. You have to have sufficient funds, you need to be prepared for the course, and you need to have the intent to leave the United States at the end of your program. Again, this is a non-immigrant visa classification, so that is one of the requirements. What's next? So at the end of the interview, your visa is either approved, it's denied under Code Section 214B, or it's an administrative processing under 221G. Please remember that if your visa is approved, you can't enter the US more than 30 days between the start of your program. Make sure that when you enter the United States that you register with your designated school official within 30 days. Make sure that when you're in your program, you're attending and passing your courses, and you're maintaining a full course load while you're in the United States. If you're going to participate in CPT, which is curricular practical training, or OPT, which is optional practical training, make sure that you get authorization before you start those programs. And notify your designated school official, also called a DSO, if you have any changes in your program, if you're switching schools, if you have a change in address, or you need an extension to your study time. If you're unsure about what your status is at any time while you're in the United States, again, please speak to your DSO. Any other questions? We have all these resources available to you. They're also, for those of you who are here in person, on the handout that you received when you came in. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook, we'll have it posted in the comments later today. Okay. We're going to take a 2-minute quick break. For those of you who are watching online, there'll be a video, and then we'll go to question and answers. Thank you.
Step inside the American Center at the U.S. Consulate General in Chennai, to a modern space that has something for everyone. One click at one of the many online kiosks provides students, researchers, and professionals a gateway to world-class domains for academic research and resources. From digital to hardbound, pick up a book on law, media, or journalism, or choose from over 600 selections on American arts and culture. The choices are plenty, the knowledge unlimited. Even the youngest patron has a corner for work and play. The American Center is bustling with activity, transforming to a stage for music, a platform for panels on education, a center for workshops and exchanges, all brought alive thanks to digital technology. The American Center has been a long-standing example of the strong bond between the U.S.-India relationship that dates back 70 years. Yesterday's American Library stands today at the center of knowledge and experience. Step into the American Center for an immersive experience that will help you step out with a lifetime of learning and a bridge to the future.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Over 238,000 miles away, the US Consulate General in Chennai established its present-day home right here at Gemini Flyover, Chennai, then Madras. The year was 1969.
The library's current home in this building began when Chester Bowles came here to dedicate the building in January of 1969.
Hello, I'm Robert Burgess, the Consul General of the United States here in Chennai. We hope you will join us as we celebrate 50 years in this historic consulate building.
I've been part of a film festival which we held here, which was all of musical.
It has been a blessing to all the scholars, citizens, students of this city.
An assistant professor here, then grown on to become the vice principal and now the principal. I definitely wanted the students also to go through that exciting journey which I had myself gone through.
The Consulate and the American Center has had a legacy of supporting strong US-India people-to-people ties. Hope you join us as we celebrate 50 years through 2019.
Suppose it's not our parents who are sponsoring us, will that be a problem?
No, it's basically the same answer. So long
Yeah.
as you can credibly describe what the plan is and it makes sense, then that would be sufficient.
Thank you.
We had a question in the front.
Good afternoon. I would like to ask about, I'm representing a school in Chennai, and we have students who are not necessarily Indian nationals, but foreign nationals studying in India who wish to go overseas. And students from British nationality or an Australian nationality or Singaporean citizens who wish to go to the US for higher education. Is the visa procedure, especially for the student visa, different for them?
Okay, thank you for your question. We, of course, welcome students from anywhere in the world to come study in the United States. The process itself would not be different. They would need to apply online. If they had any other specific questions, I recommend that they visit our websites for resources that might apply to them specifically. Did you have anything to add to that? No.
Good afternoon, I'm S. Devanathan. I'm a mechanical graduate and I had a year of experience, and then I took a gap year. So what documents should I be producing in such a case? Suppose if I'm having a gap year.
I'm not sure I understand specifically what you're asking.
No, is there any other documents that I need to produce on what I was doing for that year?
No. Okay, yeah, okay, so I don't want to advise you specifically for your case. I would say generally, it's not necessary that we're going to look at any documents, but I would bring documentation that is related to the criteria for this visa. So that relates to your ability to finance your education and then your plans for while you're in university, as well as your I-20 and your SEVIS receipt.
Thanks.
Is this not working? Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Good afternoon. I wanted to ask if there's a problem if the documents that we are supposed to furnish at the time of the visa interview, if they're laminated, is it a problem? Will they not be admissible?
Are you talking about your SEVIS payment and your I-20?
Not that, maybe documents related to qualifications, mark sheets, so.
No, there's no problem with lamination. And again, we may not even look at them. So there is no specific criteria for what those documents should be.
All right, thank you.
We have a few questions from YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a question from Suryakant. I have got an admission from a US institute where GRE scores were not required. Do I still need to appear for GRE?
There is no specific testing that is required for a F or M visa. Your program needs to make sense for what your goals are. So it's really the same answer. It's if your plan makes sense and you can credibly explain what those plans are, how you're funding it, and that you plan to return to the United States, then that's what we're looking for.
Good afternoon. It is with specific to the financial documents. So if I'm planning to take education loan for my education and use my savings for the living expenses there, do I need to produce additional CA certificate or only the loan sanction letter and a bank balance statement for my living expense would do?
Bring any documents that you feel are relevant to how you're funding. Not to be a broken record, but it's very possible that no one will even look at them. Just so that you can credibly explain how you're paying for it. There's student loans are a very common way for how people finance their education, both here in India and in the United States. So as long as you can explain what your plan is, then that should be sufficient.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So my question is like, let's say a student is applying for fall of 2019 and his visa gets rejected. So can he apply again within a span of 10 days, and he applies again, what are the chances that in the second time his visa will be approved? Because in a span of 10 days, what are the change that you're expecting from him so that you will approve his US visa?
So we don't have any limitations on how often you can apply for the F or the M visa. Whether or not he's qualified is going to depend on his ability to explain to the officer who's interviewing him what his plans are, how he's paying for it, and what his plans are to return after his time in the U.S. So I can't tell you what the odds are because it's going to be dependent on the answers that the applicant provides in the interview.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a moment so they can hear you online.
What should be the validity of the passport? Should it be for the entire 4 year, or even if it expires after, say, a year, is that still okay while we apply for the visa?
So the visa is for entrance. So for entrance, we usually require 6 months validity from the time that the visa is issued. There isn't a specific requirement for how long the passport is valid for how long you plan to be in the United States.
Thank you.
Hi. So I was wondering, should I be able to finance all 4 years of my education or just the first year when I'm applying for the visa?
So you should have a plan for the entire time that you're going to the United States. That doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have documentation for a loan you plan on taking in year 4 when you haven't started year 1, but so long as you have a legitimate plan for how you're funding your education, then that you'll be okay.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, it's again regarding financials. So my father has saved some gold for me for my education purpose. So when bringing the documents, how should I bring proof for that? Like a CA statement, or should I let it to the bank and get a statement saying that I have this much amount of gold with me? Like in general.
Okay, so in general, there isn't any specific requirement for how you present your ability to finance your education. It's just going to depend on your ability to explain what your plan is. So however you feel is the most clear way to represent what assets you're using is the best way, I think.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, I already have an I-20 for a specific program, but I'm thinking of switching over to another program in the same university. Can that be done at this stage?
All right, your question is you have an I-20 for one specific degree program and
Yeah.
you want to change to a different degree program at the same university.
Yeah, is it possible at this stage?
Have you already arranged with the university to enter into a different program?
I'm applying currently, so before I submit my application, I would like to know.
It's better if you are applying at the time of your interview for the program you plan to attend.
Okay. But at this stage, what should I do? Because I've already scheduled my interview based on the current. Should I still go ahead and apply, or it's a...
Well, I just want to say that when your visa is issued, it is issued for a specific US university and looking at the I-20 that you submit. So in case you change the program, then you will have to get another visa. So in that case, it's always best if you decide the course to study the US university and then apply for the visa.
Does that make sense to you?
No, yeah, that's what I did. But right now, I'm considering another program.
So if you think you need to consider another program, and if you have the time, then you should wait to get a fresh I-20 from the university and then reapply. Yeah, apply for the program that you intend to attend and at the university that you intend to attend.
Sure.
This is a question from the WhatsApp audience. It's from one Mr. Ram. The question is about, he has already enrolled for an MS program, meaning he got an admitted to the US university. He has his wife and child whom he wants to take along with him. The option he would like to know is it possible for me to apply for a F2 visa along with my F1 visa interview? The second option is, if I go and settle in the university, can I apply for a F2 after 6 months, after I complete 1 semester at the university?
Either option is fine. It's whatever works best for your family.
Hello. The question is again regarding the financials. The I-20 has the amount for 1 year for expenses. So during the visa interview, do we need to show the expenses for do we need to show the funding for the second year also? Or the I-20 amount is enough?
So again, we don't expect you to have loan documentation for years in advance for your education. So long as you are able to explain what your plan is for paying for that, that's all that we're looking for at this point.
Thank you.
Hello, I've applied for UG. So what I have on my mark sheets are a different name. That is, what is that? My passport is my name and my father's name as the first name and last name. In my mark sheets, my father's first name is the initial. That's the first letter of my father's name is the initial, and my name is the another part of the completion. So it's pretty different from the passport name. So is there any problem regarding that?
It's not uncommon here in India for people to use different iterations of their name. If you're concerned that it's very different, then I would just bring some documentation that shows that you're the same person.
No.
Hi, good afternoon. I just received my I-20, and there's a the estimated cost is for 8 months, and I have submitted my documents for 2 years, and they have printed all the financial funds what I'm going to present for 2 years under 8 months. So should I wait for a new I-20? I've requested the university. Should I wait for new I-20? Can I book with this book visa with this year?
If you feel your document was prepared incorrectly, I would get a corrected document.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
We have a question from YouTube by Mr. Prabhu Tyagarajan. So, if the university asks for any foundation course relevant to the field of study and course duration is about a month, is there a possibility of attending that course?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
If the university... Okay, I'm going to just read this as it is. Suppose the university asks for any foundation course relevant to the field of study and the course duration is just about a month. Is there a possibility to attend this course?
Are you saying before starting a program that there's some coursework that's required courses before you can start? It would have to be reflected in your I-20 that you're attending 4 credit classes ahead of the program. So you can work with your designated school official if there's some sort of discrepancy in the paperwork you've received and then the coursework that they're requiring.
Thank you. And there's one more question.
Just to add to that, you can enter the US 30 days before the start date mentioned on the I-20. So I would suggest the student to make sure that the US university mentions the start date as whatever is supposed to start.
Thank you. We have one more question by Arjun Aryan. In my gap year, if I only focused on my master's application, which is a lengthy process, preparing for the GRE, TOEFL, LOR, SOP, and all of the details, including bank loans, will it be seen as a negative?
So my answer to this question is so long as you can credibly explain the time that you spend preparing for your courses, then there won't be a problem.
Yeah, good afternoon, ma'am. I have one. My daughter has applied for some more universities at the US fall season 2019. she got offer from 2 or 3 universities, but we are waiting for some more better universities. But through agents we are going, ma'am. They said that before this weekend you have to apply this, that they are telling. Otherwise it will be very difficult to get the visa like that. So is there any time frame for applying the visa, ma'am? For going for fall 2019 in August?
So her courses start in August?
August, ma'am.
So it's 4 months from now.
Yeah.
I mean, the sooner the better, but if you don't have all of the paperwork that you need to apply, then don't apply before you're ready, because that doesn't help you if she's going to apply for a visa and then change to a different university. So I think right now our wait times are, can we add that?
After applying, whether we can change, ma'am, after putting the application for visa, we can change the university? It is not possible.
Can I make a suggestion on that? Number one, let me just say, when I started, when we sat down up here, I mentioned that I'm the chief of the consular section. I think after today, Christine should be the chief of the consular section. What does everybody think? Everybody want to give Christine a promotion? Thank you for answering all those questions and answering them so well. But let me also say on that, I would note that, and all of you who are going through this process right now know this, and I know it because I'm going through it again as a parent. Most of the universities require, or a lot of universities require, a commitment by May 1st. So we're pretty close. So if your daughter, did you say, ma'am, or your son? Your daughter.
Yeah, daughter.
Your daughter is waiting to hear from a couple of more universities. She's going to hear very soon, I think. And so she ought to hear soon, and I would imagine that most people would commit by the 1st of May or thereabouts. There may be exceptions and there may be other circumstances, but I would urge you to wait until she has, urge her to wait until she's made a choice. And then the documentation should be based on that final choice.
Okay.
Anything to add on that? No. All right.
So we can wait till May, we can wait, does it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Maya has one more.
Yeah, you can apply for a visa 120 days within the 120 days period.
Yeah.
So just bear that in mind as well. So wait for your, the final choice, because ultimately the point is that the US visa is linked to the university that your daughter intends to attend. So you cannot get a visa for another university and then use that.
So we can wait and we can see, then we can apply for the visa. Till May we can wait, ma'am.
See, that's your choice. But you need to make an informed choice, making sure that there is enough time for you to apply for a visa.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello again. I'm currently a final year undergraduate. So my course will get over in May. And so I'll be receiving my mark sheets and final degree certificates maybe 2 weeks later. So wouldn't that be too late to apply for the visa? Could I apply before? And if it doesn't come, then that would be a problem, right? So either way, looking at it.
Oh, you're talking about your mark sheets for your final year of your
master's?
master's?
The final degree certificates and all that.
But you've already received admission to a master's program in the United States?
Yes.
Okay, so under those circumstances, bring what documents that you have.
Okay.
There is no specific required documents that you need to bring. You just need to be able to credibly explain what your plan is for your education and how you're paying for it, and your plan for after when you leave the United States.
Okay.
There's no magic document that will answer all your questions. You have to be specific to your own circumstances and then provide your story to the officer.
Thank you.
So there's an online question from TJ. Once we have booked the visa interview date, could we change the university that we are planning to go to in the DS 160 before the interview?
You can. You just need to make sure that you've updated all the information. Each university has their own CVIS number that will need to be updated, and you may have to make a new CVIS payment if you had already previously paid the CVIS fee for the prior university. So just make sure you've done all the steps necessary.
And I'd just like to add that make sure you make the CVIS payment at least 3 days before your visa interview so that it reflects in the system.
Ma'am, after appearing for a visa interview, how many days will it take to get processed the visa?
If your visa is approved at during your interview, it takes 3 to 5 business days.
Hello.
Hello.
So the course that I am attending, 1 year of the course will be in New York and the second year will be in London. But I still be affiliated to the US University as well as the UK University. So I'd like to know if my visa should be for like 2 years or 1 year. How does it work?
You should speak to your designated school official about how the program is set up so that you get the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you.
How do you present yourself for a visa interview?
Prepared.
All right, cool.
So make sure that you know the answers to the kind of questions that we're going to ask.
And you're supposed to be in formals?
There's no dress code for your interview.
Right, cool.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So my question is regarding after the study is over. Is there a time frame in which we need to leave the US after the course ends?
So for F1 visas, there's a 60-day grace period for you to conclude your affairs and then leave the United States.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, would the DSOs be in the same state or university which we are attending, or will they be in another state?
So your designated school official is going to be somebody who works at your school. So I would contact your school to figure out how to get in touch with that person.
Hello.
Hello.
Some consulates disclose to students the reason for rejection of a visa. How is it in the US consulate? And if a student is looking to find out why he or she got rejected, how can they proceed?
Oh, this must be the hard question. Everybody's handing the mic to me. We're required by law to disclose the reason for any visa refusal, and we do that. And Christine mentioned a couple of them, a couple of the possibilities. One is Section 221G of the Immigration and Nationality Act, and that one basically means we don't have enough information yet to issue you a visa. There's something incomplete about your application. So if we give you a letter that explains that your visa is being refused under Section 221G, we'll also tell you what's incomplete and how to complete it. The other section which is potentially a refusal would be Section 214B of the Immigration and Nationality Act. And that states, among other things, that everybody has to show that they have strong ties to a residence abroad that they don't intend to abandon. In other words, when you come back, when you complete your studies, you plan to come back to India. And there are other provisions of that section of law, too, which apply to student visas. So we do tell students why, if their visa is refused, we do tell every student why, and we're obliged by law to do that. And we explain that, and we also give you written documentation as to why. Anything I missed on that? Anything else you'd say? Okay, all right. Thanks.
Hello. It's a question about rejection again, and
I guess I'll keep the microphone.
So it is to understand, are there levels of rejection? Say, for example, a level 1 rejection is something is not filled rightly in the application, and say if level 1 is you can refill, attend the interview again, and get the visa. Are there any severity levels in the rejection, or reject and you can't? You have to apply again, definitely.
Right. Let me see if I understand your question, sir. And part of your question, I think, is if you are refused a visa, can you apply again, and what are the circumstances under which you could apply again? And then I guess let me talk a little bit more about some of the reasons for refusal, and maybe that'll help answer your question. So let me just say that, first of all, in any case where we don't have enough information to issue a visa, that would be under Section 221G. You can submit your documents to us without a new payment and application, and we'll accept your documents, and then we'll make a final decision on the application. If your visa is refused under Section 214B of the Immigration and Nationality Act, then you would need to consider whether or not to reapply. And we always advise people not to reapply unless something significant has changed in your circumstances, or unless you feel that you didn't present the information that you wanted to present the first time in the interview, and would like to make a better case the second time. In that case, you would need to pay a new fee, and you'd need to go online and make an appointment and complete an application and all of those things. Anything you want to add on that?
No, I think that covers it.
Okay, and then I'm not sure if I answered your question, sir, but if I didn't, please let me know. Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so this is from Sahana Sridhar. When does the 60-day grace period start? Is it after the last class or after the graduation?
It's the conclusion of the program, which is going to be on your I-20. If it does change, though, please speak to your DSO again to make sure that if you have any questions about your status, they'll be able to answer them.
Thank
you. When I went through the internet, I might be wrong, but I saw that OPT students, if we apply for OPT, the STEM students, they get 3-year opportunity, right?
So OPT is a 1-year program, and then there's an optional 2-year extension for STEM students.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you need to first apply for an OPT and get it approved by your designated school official. And then once you finish your 1 year, then you can apply for an extension for the next 2 years. So it's not an automatic 3-year, it's a 1 year plus 1 plus 2 for
And
STEM students, yeah.
One more follow-up. Actually, the university that I applied to has this co-op program. So that program is for 5 years. So my F1 visa should be for 4 years, if that's right. So is there any problem regarding that?
Score program?
No, yeah, the co-op programs are usually where they work for, you have an internship in between and it's built as part of your curriculum, right? That's what you're talking about. So you're allowed a maximum period of, 1 plus 2 years of, are you going for a STEM program?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're doing a curricular practical training as part of your program, which is required as part of your program, then that number of months would be deducted from your final OPT years as well. So just bear that in mind, and you would need to discuss all of that with your DSO once you reach the US university.
Okay. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
So I have a question regarding the visa interview slots. So before the session begins, you already mentioned that June 12 is the visa day and you do only F1 visas. So do we have separate visa slots for F1 visa during the regular period, or is it along with the other visas?
So there are separate slots, I believe, for the F. Yeah. I was like, I know they open up more, but.
Yeah, so thank you for once again mentioning the June 12th Student Visa Day, because that'll be the day on which at all 5 posts throughout Mission India, so New Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, Hyderabad, and Mumbai, we'll have a special day set aside just for students. And last year, as I mentioned, we interviewed around 4,000 students just on that day. So that's a really exciting day. The question on other slots is, we always set aside slots for student visas, and we always try to prioritize student visas. And so please do apply early. Please do prepare. Please, as soon as you know what your plans are, go online, read the information, and make an appointment. However, if you're not able to get an appointment in the time that is most helpful to you, my best advice is continue to watch the website, because we regularly review the appointments that are available and we add appointments where we need to. So don't give up if after the first try you can't find an appointment that's suitable to you. The other thing that I'll say is on the website there's information about how to apply for an expedited appointment. That information is there for everybody, and there's a set of requirements and instructions on the website. So also look at that if you have tried unsuccessfully to make an appointment for a student visa and you need to do so urgently. There's a process for that, okay? So keep watching, prepare yourself, plan ahead, and then go back on the website and look for appointments that are open, okay? Is that good advice? Yeah.
There are a few more questions. Yeah.
Good.
So I got my F1 visa last year for a program, and then I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I did go to the US 20 days before the program started, and due to some family medical emergency, I had to get back. I didn't start my schooling. So, I got my new I-20. So, is there any possibility that my new I-20 will be linked to the old visa, or should I apply for the new visa?
So in general, you need an I-20 that reflects your current program, and your visa has to be tied to that I-20. So you'll need to come and reapply based on the current I-20 and your current intent to pursue your program.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I haven't made any specific travel plans so far. Would that hamper my chances of getting a visa? Because it was
No,
specifically.
and I'm really glad you asked that. Please, we know that you need to plan ahead, and I just told you to plan ahead, so please follow that advice. But please don't make specific flight arrangements or travel plans until you have your visa. So we are not looking to see specific travel plans for a student. We'd love to know, of course, we will know from your I-20 when your program starts, and we'd like to hear about your plans during the interview. But we are not going to ask you to show us your airline tickets or any travel plans. In fact, we don't want you to do that until you have your visa. So please look ahead and plan out as far as you can, but don't make any plans that can't be changed, okay, until you have your visa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question, thanks.
Good afternoon. My daughter got admission from 2-3 universities in the US. And she's the final semester, and this final semester mark sheet, degree certificate, provisional certificate, everything may take definitely some time. In case it doesn't come to hand, no, by the time the visa interview is there, can she show any evidence from the net or something where the final mark sheet, grades or whatever is, can that be taken on hand to be on the safe side? Because till 7th it is fine, only for the 8th semester I am asking.
Do you need a break? You kind of answered this question before, but the question was again about mark sheets and documentation, I believe, sir. And so the question would be, if your daughter wasn't able to get her mark sheets in time for the interview, what should she do? And again, I would go back to what my colleague Christine said, which is she should come prepared to the interview to make a credible case that she's qualified for the visa. We may or may not ask for documentation. If she has a set of mark sheets that are incomplete and she doesn't have the final ones, and she can explain the reasons why, and she can tell us a little bit about her current student status, then that's very likely to be enough for us to make a decision on her credibility and her eligibility as a student. Anything you'd add to that? Okay.
Okay, thanks.
There's a question from our YouTube viewer, Atul Pramod. Will it be an issue if my surname field is blank in the passport? Can I still use the passport for applying for my visa?
Yes, we see that here all the time.
So this is a question from Sai Karthik. He has texted us in WhatsApp. So he says his father is a citizen of United States and his mother isn't. They are not living together, but he wants to know if that will affect his visa. Does he have to mention that his father is in the United States?
The criteria for every student is going to be the same, though every student is going to have their own unique circumstances. So the key here is to be able to explain what your circumstances are and meet the criteria. Again, that you can pay for your education in the United States, that you have a credible plan of study, and that your intent is to return to India or wherever else you live after your program is over. This is a non-immigrant visa, so your plan can't be that you're going to stay in the United States forever. But if your plan is to come back to India because you have these certain career goals or other kind of ties, then that would be sufficient, so long as you're able to explain what that is. There is a gentleman in the front who has a question also.
So how many days after the booking of the visa will the visa interview take place?
It's going to depend on what the availability is for appointments.
Okay.
I can't tell you what it's going to be when you apply, because the appointment times change. Again, as Kent said, when we see that there's a surge, we'll try to open up more appointments for F visas. We know that the summer is a busy time for that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm just curious. My name is Bhavani Shankar. I was wondering if there are other possibilities. I just hear a lot of I-20s and F1s. But then what if I'm an exchange student? So the status changes. And are there other possibilities that the students can enter as exchange students where the visa status by itself is different? And why is that not being discussed here?
Okay, so your question is about the J1 exchange. Okay. So we usually talk about student visas because that's what we get the most questions about. Do you have any specific questions about the J visa program?
Because I was an exchange student.
Okay, so you already know all the answers.
So I was wondering why nobody has applied as an exchange student, and so that makes the process very different.
Yes.
And of course, we had the home country rule applying, so that we had to get back. So live in India for a couple of years before we could reapply to go to US under any visa. So see, as an exchange research student, I've had the benefit of going through the J visas. And if I remember right, IAP 66, I'm not very sure about the form that I filled in.
We have a new name for it, sir.
Okay.
I'll tell you what that is. Want me to take that one?
The DS201.
All right. Do we have anybody who's interested in exchange programs, first of all? All right. Well, for your benefit, sir, and for anybody else who may be thinking about it, we welcome exchange visitors just as much as we welcome foreign students to the United States. And we do have a number of different exchange program options. These could be academic exchanges, they could be research, they could be all sorts of different things. And the gentleman correctly points out that that is a J1 visa. We have a new name for the IAP 66 form. It's a DS2019. And we'll give anybody one of those, too. If they're a qualified exchange student, you'll get that from the program that you're applying for. And then you'll come in and apply for a visa. And there are a few things that are different, but the general advice I would give is the same. Do your homework ahead of time, do your research and understand the program. Come prepared to tell us why it's a good match for you. Come prepared to tell us that you plan to return to India after the conclusion of your program and why that's the case. And be prepared for the interview to discuss things like financial viability and all of those other things. So if anybody wants to afterwards, if you want to chat about exchange programs, we have lots of options on that front as well. And I don't know if Maya wants to say anything about that from her perspective.
I just want to say that, well, we do have the Fulbright fellowships which come under the J visa, but not just the Fulbright, but there are many other independent exchange programs between Indian institutions and US institutions which would also fall under the J visa. You mentioned about the 2-year home rule, and I think it's, well, you can't apply for a residence visa in the US, but otherwise you can still visit the US on a business visa or a tourist visa. So there is, so the 2-year home rule is a little different from what you're probably describing. Well, I have 2 announcements actually. EducationUSA, every year we hold a pre-departure orientation for students going to the US. And this orientation covers everything from adapting to American classrooms, to academics, to life on the US campuses, to also working and knowing about what it means, what plagiarism means, and how to handle classroom sessions. How do you deal with professors in the US, or how do you engage with professors in the US? So I would definitely encourage, how many of you have actually been to the US before? If you can raise your hands. Okay, so there is a few who've been to the US, but perhaps more for a tourist or for a visit purpose? Business, yeah. So studying in the US and being in an academic environment is obviously a very different environment altogether. And I would definitely encourage all of you to attend this pre-departure orientation that we hold every year. And this year it's going to be held on July 12th. Please keep in touch with us and we can let you know about the pre-departure orientation so that you get to hear about the more important aspects of living and studying in the US. The other announcement I have is I hope all of you have got the student visa process, the leaflet that was given out. In case you have not got it, on your way out, if you can collect it, because we're making more copies available as you walk out. And to those people watching online, well, please keep in touch with us, and we can definitely make this information available to you online as well.
It's time to wrap up. It's 4:06 p.m. I just want to say thank you to everybody that's here. I leave the last words to Christine and Kent.
Yes, I'd like to make a final comment. People get very nervous about this process, but if you are here today or watching online, that means that you're already taking steps to prepare yourself for your study in the United States. And you know your story. You know why you picked the schools that you pick. You know what your plan is for your career, what your plan is for paying it. You already know the answers to these questions. So don't get nervous. Just relax and answer honestly and truthfully, because your story is yours and we want to hear it. So thank you for coming today.
I really couldn't have said it better than that. I'll just say one more time that the United States welcomes foreign students. We welcome international students from India. We have more than 200,000 of those students in the United States right now. And we really hope that all of you will consider studying in the United States if you're considering studying abroad at all. It's an adventure, and it's one that you'll enjoy and profit and benefit from for the rest of your lives. Let me see if Maya wants to add anything.
I just want to say good luck and all the best to everything that you want to pursue, and enjoy yourself.
Thanks.